The stars were silent, cold, and endless. Ethan's small ship drifted near the broken remains of something far larger. It was an alien vessel, massive in size, floating dead near a dying star. Its hull was torn open as if some great beast had bitten into it. The wreck had been sending strange signals for days. And now Ethan had come to see if there was anything valuable inside. He was a scavenger, a lonely human who traveled the edges of forgotten space. Metal, fuel, and strange alien tech were his only treasures. Every trip was dangerous, but danger meant profit, and profit meant survival. Still, as he looked at the shattered alien craft, he felt something colder than greed crawl over his skin. The ship seemed to breathe, its lights flickering weakly like dying eyes. It was as if the dead vessel was watching him, waiting for him to enter. Ethan checked his gear and pushed off, moving toward the alien wreck. His boots clanged on the broken hull as he entered through a jagged tier. The inside was dark, filled with drifting dust and frozen sparks. Alien symbols glowed faintly on the walls, their meaning lost to him. The air was thin but breathable, and silence wrapped around him like a heavy blanket. As he walked deeper, he felt it, a whisper, not a sound, but a thought brushing against his mind. It was faint, fragile, like a dying voice. He froze, his hand moving to his weapon, but there was nothing around him, only shadows and cold light. Still, the whisper came again, soft and trembling. "Help me." Ethan's heart pounded. He had heard many things in abandoned ships. Groans of bending metal, cracks of pressure, even recordings left behind. But never had he heard a voice in his head. He forced himself forward, step by step, following the strange pull. The corridors twisted like veins, leading him deeper into the heart of the wreck. Finally, he entered a chamber that still held a faint glow, and there, lying against a cracked console, was a figure. She was not human. Her skin shimmered like silver light, broken in places where dark lines spread like cracks in glass. Her hair floated around her as if underwater, glowing faintly with its own energy. Her eyes opened slowly as he stepped closer, and the whisper in his head grew stronger. "You, human." Ethan aimed his weapon, unsure if she was a trap or a survivor. The alien woman raised a trembling hand, her voice echoing in his mind again. "My body is the only currency I have. Please, be gentle." The words froze Ethan where he stood. They were not spoken with pride or strength, but with fear and desperation. Her voice carried a weight he could not understand. Currency, body, begging. What did it mean? Was she offering herself for help or warning him of something more dangerous? The chamber pulsed faintly, and Ethan noticed strange machines connected to her. They flickered with dim light, draining energy from her body. She looked weak, almost transparent in some places, as if she was fading away. And yet, even in her weakness, she radiated something powerful, something dangerous. He could feel it, pressing against his thoughts, a force both alive and dying. Ethan lowered his weapon slightly. His instincts told him to leave, to turn back, to escape before he became trapped in something far beyond him. But the way she looked at him, the way her voice trembled inside his mind, stopped him. She was not an enemy. She was a survivor. And she was begging him in the only way she could. He stepped closer, his boots echoing in the hollow chamber. The alien woman tried to rise, but collapsed back, her body too weak. Her glowing eyes locked onto his. "If you leave, I will die. If you stay, you must pay a price." Ethan's chest tightened. This was no simple salvage. This was something else. Something larger. The ship was a tomb, but she was alive, and she needed him. But what was the price? Her body as currency, her life force as payment. What did it mean? For a moment, the silence pressed heavy again. Broken only by the faint hum of dying machines, Ethan stood at the edge of choice. Torn between survival and something deeper. He had lived alone for so long, always trading, always taking. But now? An alien woman begged him with her life itself. Her words echoed again inside him, softer this time. Please. Be gentle. The chamber darkened as the last lights flickered, somewhere deep in the wreck. A rumble shook the walls. Time was running out. Ethan reached out his hand, unsure if he was saving her or dooming himself. And in that single moment, the fate of both human and alien began to change forever. Ethan's hand hovered in the air, trembling. The alien woman's glowing eyes locked onto his. And for a moment, he felt as if his soul itself was being weighed. Her body looked fragile, her silver skin cracked, her breath shallow. Yet the energy around her was alive and dangerous. She whispered again inside his mind, a soft plea wrapped in fear. If you stay, you must pay a price. My body is the only currency I have. Ethan swallowed hard. He had heard many bargains in his life from smugglers, pirates, even desperate miners, but never anything like this. Her words were not a trick, not an offer of flesh or trade. They carried a truth deeper than language. Her body itself was a vessel, a source of power, and she was offering it not with pride, but with despair. Who are you? Ethan asked softly. Though he knew she would hear the thought even before his lips moved, her cracked lips curved weakly. Lyra. Last of my line. Last of my world. The name echoed in his mind like a broken bell. She was not just an alien survivor. She was the last piece of something ancient. The machines beside her hissed and sparked, draining the last bits of light. From her skin, Ethan knelt closer, inspecting them. They were not designed to heal. They were feeding on her, using her as a living battery. That was why she was fading. Someone or something had turned her body into fuel. Lyra's hand reached for his wrist, barely touching. A spark of warmth passed between them, and Ethan gasped as if his breath had been stolen. For a second, he felt dizzy, his vision flashing white. She pulled her hand back, and the strange warmth vanished. You see? This is my curse. My gift. Every touch takes life, gives life. It is all I have left. Ethan stared at her, trying to understand. Her body was her currency. Every touch could heal or drain, depending on how it was given. No wonder she had begged him to be gentle. If he was careless, she could kill him. In seconds, if she was merciful, she could give him strength at a cost to herself. He wanted to walk away, to return to his ship and leave this cursed wreck behind. But the thought of her dying alone, fading into silence, stirred something he thought long dead inside him. He was human, yes, a scavenger, yes, but he was not a monster, not yet. What do you want from me? He asked, his voice low. Lyra's eyes closed, and her words pressed softly into his mind. Take me from this grave. Help me escape. In return, I will give you what I can. My strength, my knowledge, my bond. Her voice cracked like glass. But you must pay. No one touches me without losing a part of themselves. Ethan laughed bitterly, though there was no humor in it. I've been losing parts of myself. All my life, he muttered. He thought of the long years in the void, the friends buried on nameless worlds, the scars no one ever saw. Perhaps he had been paying long before he ever met her. He reached out again, slowly, carefully. Her hand trembled as she touched him, this time. The energy did not burn, but flowed a gentle stream of warmth that settled into his chest. It was not painful, but heavy. As if a weight had been placed upon his soul, Lyra gasped weakly, color returning faintly to her skin. The cracks on her body glowed with soft silver light. She was alive again, though only a little. Why me? Ethan whispered. Out of all the scavengers, all the humans, why had she called to him? Her answer came slow and fragile. Because you heard me. Because you did not run. Because you chose to stay when others would have left. The chamber shook suddenly, a deep groan rolling through the broken walls. Metal screamed as the wreck shifted. Somewhere above, something heavy was docking against. The ship, Ethan's blood turned cold. They were not alone. Lyra's glowing eyes widened with fear. They have found me. The hunters? Her voice was sharper now, filled with terror. If they take me, they will drain the last of my kind and turn my body into currency for war. Ethan gritted his teeth. He had no idea who these hunters were, but the desperation in her voice told him everything he needed to know. They would not show mercy, they would not bargain, and if they found her, if they found him, there would be no escape. Lyra clutched his arm, her voice trembling. Please, human, make your bargain now. Will you leave me to them, or take me as your burden? The sound of metal boots echoed faintly down the corridor. Growing closer, Ethan's pulse raced, his mind torn. He had come for salvage, for scraps of alien tech, not for this, not for her, yet here she was, bound to him by one fragile choice. His ship was nearby, his path clear if he abandoned her, but her voice, soft and breaking, held him where he stood. Choose, human. Choose before it is too late. The chamber lights flickered, shadows dancing across the walls. The hunters were coming. Ethan's hand tightened on his weapon, his other hand still held by the alien woman. And in that moment, the true bargain of their fates began. The sound of heavy boots echoed through the broken corridors. Growing louder with each second, Ethan's heart raced as he pulled Lyra to her feet. Her body weak, but glowing faintly with new life. Her touch still lingered in his chest, heavy and strange, as if part of him was no longer his own. He could feel her presence inside his mind. Not just a whisper now, but a quiet echo. She was inside him, bound to him, and he did not know if that was a gift or a curse. Can you walk? He asked, his voice rough. Lyra nodded weakly. Though her steps were slow, her strength unsteady. Every step costs me energy, she whispered in his thoughts, but with your bond, I can hold on. The word bond burned in Ethan's mind. He had not chosen it, yet it was there now. A connection he could not deny. The hunters' voices drifted closer, harsh and metallic. Alien words echoed in the chamber, commands sharp. And cold Lyra's hand gripped his arm tighter, her fear pressing into his chest like a second heartbeat. They can sense me, she whispered. The bond will hide me, but only if you let me inside. Ethan frowned. Inside, he muttered. Before he could ask more, Lyra pressed her glowing forehead to his. A rush of heat filled his mind like a flood breaking through walls. Memories not his own spilled into him. Visions of shining cities of silver towers, skies filled with wings of light. Oceans that glowed with living energy, he gasped, his knees almost buckling. The bond was not just a link, it was a sharing of souls. Her voice was clearer now, closer, as if she spoke from within him. We are one. For now. They cannot find me while I am inside you. Ethan clenched his fists, his breath ragged. He had not asked for this, had not agreed to carry an alien within his very being. And yet, he could not tear her out. Part of him knew he would not even try. The footsteps drew nearer, the hunters moving through the wreck. Searching room by room, Ethan pulled Lyra's fading body closer, though her spirit was now tangled with his own. He moved quietly down the corridor, past broken walls and flickering lights. The bond sharpened his senses. He could feel the hunter's presence even before he saw them. Strange shadows moved ahead, armored figures with burning red eyes, their weapons glowing with energy. Lyra's voice trembled within him. They are mercenaries of the collectors. They take what lives and sell it for war. Collectors. Ethan thought bitterly. He had heard whispers of them, slavers of flesh, sellers of technology, monsters who turned everything into profit. If they were here, then Lyra was worth more than he had imagined. Not just a survivor, not just a refugee, but something priceless. "Why do they want you?" Ethan asked in his thoughts. Lyra's reply came heavy with sorrow. "Because my body holds the last energy core of my kind. The last seed of a dying world." Her words echoed like thunder in his mind. So that was it. Her body was not only currency, it was the vault of an entire civilization. The hunters passed nearby, their footsteps sharp, their voices cold. Ethan held his breath, clutching Lyra closer. The bond pulsed, wrapping both of them in a strange silence. Hiding their presence, the hunters moved on, unaware, their red lights fading into the dark. Only then did Ethan exhale, sweat dripping down his brow. Lyra's voice was soft now, fragile. "You feel it now, don't you? The bond takes from you, but it gives too. Your strength is not only yours anymore." Ethan realized she was right. His arms no longer shook with exhaustion, his eyes sharper, his breathing calmer. Her energy flowed into him like a quiet river, steady and strong. But he also felt his own life pouring out in return, a silent trade neither could stop. "How long before it kills me?" Ethan muttered bitterly. Lyra's silence said more than words. She did not want to answer. And that silence was answer enough. The wreck groaned again. Shaking under the weight of the hunter ship above, Ethan knew they could not hide forever. They needed to escape. Now, before the mercenaries locked the place down, he pulled Lyra along the corridor, his grip firm. Her body weakened with each step, but her mind was strong inside his own. Every time he faltered, she whispered strength into him. Every time she stumbled, his will carried her forward. Together they reached the docking bay, where his small ship clung to the wreck like an insect. But the bay was not empty. 2 hunters stood guard, their weapons glowing with deadly fire. Ethan froze, his pulse quickening. He was outnumbered, outgunned, and burdened with Lyra. But the bond pulsed inside him, alive, dangerous, whispering a different path. Lyra's voice burned in his chest. "Let me in deeper, and I will give you my strength. More than you have ever known." Ethan's grip on his weapon tightened. He did not trust her, not fully, but the hunters were already moving, their eyes burning red as they raised their weapons. He had no choice. It was fight or die. He closed his eyes, letting Lyra sink deeper into his soul. The world lit up in silver fire, his muscles surging with alien strength, his vision sharp as lightning. The hunters fired, beams of energy slicing through the air. Ethan moved faster than he ever had, dodging, striking, his weapon glowing with Lyra's power. One hunter fell, cut down by a strike too fast to see. The second roared, charging, but Ethan's fist met him with the strength of 2 beings bound as one. The armored figure crashed against the wall, sparks flying. Ethan staggered, his chest burning, his strength fading even as victory shone around him. Lyra's glow dimmed too, her body weaker than before. The bond had saved them, but at a terrible cost. And as the second hunter rose again, growling with rage, Ethan realized the fight was far from over. The docking bay shook with the clash of fire and steel. Ethan's breath came heavy, his chest burning as the bond drained and fueled him at the same time. The first hunter lay broken, sparks flashing from its armor, but the second one was not so easily defeated. Its red eyes glowed brighter, its weapon spinning with crackling energy. The air itself seemed to shiver as the alien mercenary raised its blade. Ethan tightened his grip on his weapon, though his arms trembled. Lyra's energy still coursed through him, but it came at a cost. Every strike, every movement, chipped away at his own life. He could feel the bond drinking from him, pulling him deeper into her world. And yet, When he looked at her fragile body behind him, he knew he could not stop. The hunter charged. Its heavy steps shaking the floor, Ethan moved, faster than his own body should allow, ducking under the strike and slashing back with all his strength. The blade of his weapon glowed with silver fire. Lyra's gift, the hunter howled, its armor cracking with sparks. But Ethan stumbled, coughing, his vision blurring. Lyra's voice surged inside his mind, sharp and desperate. "Hold on, Ethan. Let me give more." Her glow brightened, energy flooding into him like a storm. His body screamed, his veins burned, but his strength returned in a rush. With a final cry, Ethan drove his weapon deep into the hunter's chest. The mercenary shuddered, its red eyes dimming, then collapsed in silence. Ethan fell to one knee, his weapon shaking in his hand. Lyra hurried to him, though her body was weak. Her silver light flickered faintly, the cracks across her skin spreading wider. She touched his shoulder, her voice breaking. "You gave too much. The bond is killing you." Ethan coughed, forcing himself to his feet. "I'm not dead yet," he muttered, though the words felt heavy behind them. The docking bay alarms blared, red lights flashing. The rest of the hunters had found their way in. The floor trembled as more armored figures approached from the corridors, their weapons raised, their eyes burning. Lyra's fear pressed against Ethan's chest like ice. Too many. "We cannot fight them all." Ethan looked at his ship, still clamped to the wreck. If they could reach it, they might escape, but the hunters were already closing in. "Blocking the path? Any bright ideas?" Ethan muttered. Lyra's eyes glowed. Faintly, her voice low and heavy. "There is a way, but it will cost us both dearly." Ethan gave her a sharp look. "What kind of cost?" She hesitated, then whispered, "If I merge deeper with you, we'll become faster, stronger, unstoppable for a short time. But each second will drain years from your life." Ethan's chest tightened, years of his life traded away in an instant. It was madness, but the hunters were already aiming, already preparing to strike. He had no choice. "Do it," Ethan growled, raising his weapon. Lyra placed her hand against his chest, her silver light pouring into him like liquid fire. The bond roared, no longer a whisper, but a storm. His body surged with strength beyond human limits. His vision sharp, his speed inhuman. He could feel her heartbeat inside his own. Their souls moving as one, the hunters fired, beams of burning energy cutting through the air. Ethan moved like lightning, deflecting strikes, cutting down enemies with brutal precision. Every strike cracked armor, every movement shattered steel. The mercenaries roared in rage, but one by one they fell. Lyra's energy burned brighter, her body glowing. But Ethan felt his own years slipping away, fading into the void, when the last hunter fell. Silence filled the bay. Smoke curled through the air, sparks flickered across broken walls. Ethan collapsed to his knees, gasping, his body trembling with exhaustion. Lyra knelt beside him, her glow dimming as if she too had paid a terrible price. Her cracked skin shimmered weakly, silver, tears forming at her eyes. "You gave too much again," she whispered, her voice shaking. "You cannot keep doing this, or you will die before we reach safety." Ethan forced himself to stand, his breath ragged. "I didn't come this far to quit now," he muttered. He staggered to his ship, dragging her with him with trembling hands. He activated the docking clamps, releasing the ship from the wreck. The engines roared to life, shaking violently as they tore away from the broken vessel. But before they could escape into the stars, another shadow loomed ahead. A larger ship blocked their path, its dark hull marked with crimson symbols. Dozens of red eyes lit up inside its bays. The true hunters had arrived. Far more than the few mercenaries they had faced, and this time, escape would not be so simple. Lyra's voice trembled inside his chest. "That is their command ship. They will not stop until they have me." Ethan gritted his teeth, his hands tightening on the controls. His ship was small, weak, no match for the armada in front of him. And yet, in the silence of the cockpit, he felt her hands slide into his. Her voice whispered, soft but certain, "We are not alone anymore, human. Our bond will decide if we live or die." Ahead, the hunter ship opened its bays, dozens of mercenary crafts launching into the void. Their weapons ready. Behind, the wreck exploded, shaking the stars with fire. Ethan's small ship was caught between two impossible choices, fight or flee, and neither promised survival. The void outside filled with fire and light. Ethan's small ship shook as the command vessel released its swarm of hunters. Dozens of ships fanning out across the black sky, their weapons glowing red. Lyra's fingers tightened around the edge of the console, her silver glow dim but steady. "They will not stop. Ethan, you must fly. You must fight. Or both." Ethan gritted his teeth, pulling the controls hard. The engines screamed, the small craft twisting into a sharp dive as beams of red energy cut past them, burning the edges of the hull. The ship rattled like it would tear apart. But Ethan's hands moved with a scavenger's precision. Every flick, every pull. Born from years of surviving on scraps, the hunters followed close, their shadows sharp against the starlight. Lyra's voice burned in his chest, her bond alive. "I can help, but if I give too much, you will break. Then give enough to keep us alive." Ethan growled. Her energy rushed into him, flooding his mind with clarity, his reflexes sharper, his hands moving faster. The ship seemed to obey, his very thoughts weaving through fire with impossible speed. Hunter ships exploded behind them, colliding in their own chaos. But for every one destroyed, 3 more took its place. The chase dragged them into an asteroid field, dark rocks spinning endlessly across space. Ethan plunged into it, his ship darting between tumbling stone giants. The hunters followed, but their larger crafts struggled to keep up, smashing against rock walls, breaking into fire. For a moment, it felt like they had a chance, but Lyra's voice trembled with warning. "They are hurting us, Ethan, not chasing, hurting." Ethan's eyes narrowed, and then he saw it at the far end of the asteroid belt. Another ship waited, human this time. Its beacon flashed, a friendly signal. His chest twisted with hope and suspicion. A human ship meant safety, maybe allies, maybe help, but Lyra's fear pressed heavy inside him. "Be careful, human. Even your kind may not see me as life, but as a prize." He didn't answer her, his mind racing. The hunters closed in behind, forcing him forward. The human ship opening its hangar as if welcoming him home with no other choice. He dove toward it, the small craft screaming as it entered the bay, shields flaring, metal grinding against the hangar floor. The doors slammed shut behind them, cutting off the hunters outside. For the first time since the wreck, silence filled the air. Ethan gasped for breath, slamming his hand against the console to shut the engines down. Lyra leaned weakly against the wall, her silver light faint, her body trembling. Before Ethan could speak, the hangar filled with soldiers, human soldiers, their weapons raised, their armor shining. One of them stepped forward, his voice sharp. Step away from the alien. Ethan's hand went to his weapon, but Lyra touched his arm. Her voice was soft, pained. "Do not fight them, not yet. Let us see their intent." The soldiers advanced, circling them, their leader's gaze fixed, not on Ethan, but on Lyra. There was greed in his eyes, the kind Ethan knew too well. "You brought us a gift," the man said coldly. "A living power source, the last of its kind. Do you even understand what you've done, Scavenger?" Ethan's jaw clenched. "She's not a thing," he snapped. "She's alive. She's—" "Currency," the man interrupted, his grin sharp enough to power fleets, enough to end wars. "And you brought her right to us." Lyra's glow dimmed, her eyes closing in sorrow. Her voice whispered into Ethan's mind, heavy and broken. "I warned you. Your kind will not see me as I am, only as what I carry." Ethan raised his weapon, his voice low with fury. "You'll have to kill me first." The soldiers tensed. Weapons lifting, the hangar filled with the hum of power, ready to fire. Lyra rose slowly, her cracked body glowing faintly, her voice stronger in Ethan's chest. "The bond protects us. But if you fight them, you will not survive the cost." Ethan's eyes darted across the hangar, searching for a way out. But there was none, only steel walls, armed soldiers, and locked doors. The leader smirked, stepping closer. "You're a fool scavenger. Give her to us, and maybe we let you live." Lyra's hand slipped into Ethan's, her voice soft but unshaken. "Do not give me away, Ethan." No matter what they promise, her silver eyes locked with his, fragile yet certain. The bond pulsed between them, alive, unbreakable, and then the hangar shook with a violent blast. The hunters had not left. They had tracked the ship. The walls ripped open as red fire poured in. Mercenary crafts forcing their way inside, soldiers screamed, caught between. Two enemies, humans and hunters, clashing in chaos. Ethan pulled Lyra close, his weapon raised. Smoke and fire filled the air, the ship itself shaking under the storm. Between betrayal and hunters, there was no safety, no escape. Only one path remained: run, fight, and survive long enough to find another way. The bond surged again. Silver. Light burning inside him. Lyra's voice whispered like fire in his veins. "Choose now, Ethan. Trust your kind, or trust me. Only one will lead us out alive." The hangar was fire and chaos. Red beams from the hunters cut across the air, striking human soldiers, tearing steel apart. Explosions echoed through the bay as alarms screamed. Ethan dragged Lyra behind cover, his breath ragged, his weapon hot. In his hands, everywhere he looked, soldiers and mercenaries fought, both sides blind to the fact that he and Lyra were the true prize. Lyra clutched his arm, her silver glow flickering weakly. "They will not stop, Ethan. Not until one side claims me." Her words pressed heavy into his chest. "If you give me to the humans, they will use me as a weapon. If you give me to the hunters, they will sell me as fuel. Either way, I am lost." Ethan's jaw clenched for the first time. He saw clearly what her plea had meant back on the wreck. Her body was currency, not in some poetic way, but in the most brutal truth. She was the last resource of her kind, the last treasure of a dead civilization. And now both humans and aliens wanted her, not as a person, but as property. "Then we don't give you to anyone," Ethan growled. Lyra's silver eyes searched his face. "You would stand against your own kind for me," she whispered. Ethan didn't answer, but the fire in his eyes said enough. The human commander spotted him across the smoke, his voice sharp through the chaos. "Scavenger, bring her here. We can protect you both." Ethan almost laughed, the sound bitter in his throat. Protect? No. He had seen the greed in that man's eyes, the hunger. They didn't want to protect. They wanted to control. The hunters roared, their armored forms cutting through soldiers. Like blades through cloth, one of them pointed directly at Ethan and Lyra, its voice metallic and cold. "There, the core. Take it." Dozens of red eyes turned toward them, and the hangar seemed to close in. Lyra's hand slipped into his, trembling. "If you choose me, Ethan, you will carry a burden heavier than your life. If you leave me, you may yet live." Her voice broke softly. "I will not hate you if you abandon me." But Ethan only tightened his grip, his voice low and fierce. "I've abandoned enough already." He pulled her close, his weapon raised, his mind burning with one thought: escape. The bond pulsed between them. silver light wrapping his body. Lyra's strength flowed into him, but he felt his own years fading, slipping like sand through glass. Every second cost him every movement. A trade, and yet he moved with purpose. His heart steady, they cut through the battlefield. Dodging beams of fire, weaving between falling debris, hunters lunged, soldiers fired. But Ethan's movements were sharper, faster, stronger. The bond turned every step into survival, every strike into power, yet with each burst of strength. He felt himself dimming, his life burning like a candle in a storm. The human commander's voice cut through the chaos again. Desperate now, Ethan. Think, she's not one of us. She will drain you dry. We can use her to save billions. Lyra flinched, her silver eyes closing as if the words stabbed her. But Ethan's voice roared back, full of fire. She's not a weapon. She's not fuel. She's alive. The commander's face twisted with fury. Then you're a fool, he spat. He raised his weapon and fired. The beam slicing across the hangar, Ethan dove, pulling Lyra down, the shot missing them by inches. The betrayal burned deeper than any wound. It was not only the hunters he had to fight, but his own people. Lyra's voice pressed into his soul, trembling. You cannot save me and fight them both. Not without giving everything. Ethan's breath caught, his chest heavy. He knew what she meant. The bond could give him power beyond anything, but at the cost of his life. He could sacrifice himself to keep her free, or he could break. The bond, live, and let her be taken. The choice carved into his mind, sharper than any blade. His survival, or hers. One life, or something greater. The hangar shook again as explosions tore through the ship. Hunters poured in like a tide. Soldiers fell back. The commander's screaming orders drowned in the chaos. Lyra touched Ethan's face gently, her cracked hand glowing faintly. If you let me go, I will surrender to them. You can live, human. No one will blame you. Ethan stared at her, his heart heavy, his lungs burning. In that moment, he saw not a weapon, not a core, not a prize, but a woman, fragile and desperate, begging not for freedom, but for mercy. He thought of the long years he had spent alone, scavenging the dead, surviving without meaning. And now, for the first time, he had something more. Someone more. No, Ethan said firmly, his voice unshaken. I won't let you go, Lyra. Not to them, not to anyone. His hand tightened on his weapon, his other hand holding hers like steel. If the price is my life, then I'll pay it. Lyra's eyes filled with silver tears, her voice trembling inside him. Then we will pay it together. The bond flared, brighter than ever before. Silver light flooding the hangar, wrapping them both in living fire. Hunter staggered back. Soldiers shielded their eyes, the battlefield frozen in shock. Ethan felt his body break and rebuild in a single instant, strength beyond human limits roaring through his veins. He knew this was it, the final cost, the final gamble, and as the light burned hotter, brighter, the choice was made. The bond had become unbreakable, and now it would decide who lived and who burned. The hangar shook under the force of the silver light. Hunters froze in their tracks. Soldiers shielded their eyes, the chaos silenced for a single breath. Ethan stood at the center, his body burning with energy not his own, his veins glowing faintly as if light itself flowed inside him. Lyra stood beside him, her cracked skin shining with renewed silver fire. The bond between them alive, unbreakable. For a heartbeat, the battlefield bowed before their union. Then the storm broke. The hunters roared, charging with weapons blazing. The human soldiers fired too, unable to tell enemy from ally, blinded by fear and greed. But Ethan moved faster than any human could, his steps like thunder, his strikes like lightning. Every swing of his weapon cut down armored foes. Every move, a blur of fire and silver light. Akira's voice surged in his chest, strong and steady. Now, do not stop, Ethan. The bond will carry us. But hurry, the cost grows heavier. He felt it every strike, every burst of speed drained him, pulling years of life away, but he did not falter. Not while she stood with him. Not while both humans and hunters saw her as a prize instead of a person. The commander's voice cut through the chaos. Desperate. Take him down. Take them both down. Don't let them escape. His soldiers obeyed, their weapons flashing. But Ethan's body moved with impossible grace. Shots that should have killed him missed. Blades that should have cut him shattered against his silver glow. Yet with each dodge, each block, his chest grew heavier, his breath harsher. Lyra pressed her cracked hands together, her silver glow blazing. She released a pulse of energy that threw hunters and soldiers alike across the hangar. The walls buckled, flames spreading, alarms screaming louder. But she staggered after, falling to her knees, her body trembling. Ethan caught her, the glow dimming from her skin. I cannot give more without breaking. Ethan, she whispered. You must decide now. Fight to win or fight to save. His heart pounded at her words. Fight to win meant burning everything, pouring his last breath into destroying their enemies. Fight to save meant escaping, protecting Lyra, even if the hunters and humans would return later. It was the last choice, the final path. Ethan looked around, the hangar crumbling. Soldiers scattered, hunters regrouping. The command ship's engines shaking the entire bay. There was no time. He pulled Lyra into his arms, his voice a growl. We fight to live, not to die. The bond flared again, wrapping both of them in a sphere of silver fire. Bullets, beams, blades all shattered against the light as Ethan sprinted through the battlefield. Carrying Lyra toward his ship, hunters lunged, soldiers screamed, the commander fired, but none could stop them. The ship's ramp opened as if called by fate, the engines roaring to life. Ethan leaped inside, sealing the hatch, the entire hangar exploding in flame behind them. The ship tore free, breaking through steel walls into the black sky. Dozens of hunter crafts gave chase, but Ethan's hands moved with new fire. The bond guided him, every turn sharp, every dive precise. The small vessel weaving through enemy fire like a shadow of silver light. Hunters exploded, colliding with each other. Human ships fell behind, trapped in their own war for the first time. The stars opened before them, free, endless. But Ethan's vision blurred, his hands heavy. He felt the weight of what he had given, the years stripped from him. His body ached as though he had lived a lifetime in a single hour. Lyra leaned over him, her silver eyes filled with sorrow. You gave too much, Ethan. You will not last long if we keep fighting this way. He looked at her, his breath shallow, but you're alive. That's what matters. Her cracked hands touched his face, glowing faintly. No, human. You matter too. For the first time, her voice carried not just fear or sorrow, but warmth. Not a plea for survival, but something deeper, something human. The bond between them pulsed soft, steady, no longer burning like fire, but glowing like a quiet flame. Behind them, the hunter's command ship turned, its engines flaring as it began pursuit again. The war was not over, the chase not finished. But Ethan no longer felt alone. For the first time in years, he had someone beside him. Someone who saw him as more than a scavenger, more than a survivor. Lyra's voice whispered in his chest, soft and certain. Our bond is not just a curse, Ethan. It is proof. Proof that life cannot be bought or sold. Proof that even in the dark, there can be trust. He closed his eyes for a moment, his hands steady on the controls. The stars stretched out before them, 1,000 dangers waiting. 1,000 hunters chasing, but also, perhaps, 1,000 chances for something greater. The bond had taken much, but it had given more. And as Ethan guided the ship into the endless black, Lyra's hand in his, he knew this was only the beginning.